this point, I answer to either Nydia or Kishar.
Okay.
I took on the spiritual name and it was like immediately it felt natural. Um, and so Nydia means nest, Kishar means all of that, goddess of the underworld. And so I realized after talking about it to myself for a really long time that I'm really comfortable in the shadows and the darkness.
Girl, when is your
So I'm a
birthday?
huge light bearer, you know, like
You
that's,
really are.
yeah. Thank
Yo, like, what is your sign?
Oh God. Okay. So sun is Aries, moon is Virgo, and ascending is Gemini.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
I feel that Gemini energy. That I'm surrounded by Geminis in my life.
Okay.
But you're an Aries. Okay, I'm a Libra. So this is going to be a good convo.
Yeah. My son is a Libra. I love him. He's a Libra Scorpio cusp. So
Oh my God. He
we're
just had,
both life past 11 too. It's like wild in this house.
oh, that is crazy. And you're
Yeah.
homeschooling him, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
love that. I homeschool my son too. He's 14. I wanted to ask you about
Wow.
that because, like, I know that you
Yeah.
don't.
Let's get into it.
Yes, like, well, first of all, thank you so much for this time.
Thank you
We're
for
going to
having
write
me.
books into the ether. You're a true healer. Now, are you based out of Detroit? Like, how come I didn't know you there?
I literally transitioned into my personal spiritual life awareness and consciousness journey and Christ path in 2019, at the end of 2019.
Okay.
So I was not involved in anything. I was a physical therapist full time. I worked at
Oh,
Beaumont Medical Centers here in Michigan.
all
Like
right.
I
Well,
was
shout out
straight
to
up in the
Beaumont.
matrix. Huh?
Shout out to Beaumont.
Or
Yeah,
not.
no, all my uncles work there.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of Filipino nurses and stuff.
Yes, there
So.
is. I learned a lot about Filipino culture while I was there and the love of the ube and just all of that.
Yes, we
Yes.
love ube. Oh my God, we love lumpia. Yeah, we love all the bad stuff.
I
Like,
need to make ube sweet potato pie. Like that's what I need to make that ASAP because it's like something that's been calling me. So
it's like,
but yeah, no, so I was here and I wasn't really practicing. I didn't step into my power really until 2023, until this year. I
okay.
was discovering the cannabis industry and I was attempting to get myself out there, kind of, no doubt, I won't even lie on myself. I was kind of clout chasing, trying to get like different brands to see me and understand where I was coming from until I realized that I have my entire different lane. Have a commercialized corporate industrial type of vibe at all. That's not where I belong. And the spirituality and religious nature of cannabis is its entirely different lane.
Yeah.
Um, and that's where I belong. So yeah, you didn't know me because I didn't exist in this form.
Well, it's good to know you. You were rebirthed. And it's like it just when I went to your class at the Barefoot Festival, I was like, how do I not know this person? Like that it was amazing. And I was outside. I wasn't even in the inner circle thing because I came
I
late.
heard about you, I want to say about a year ago, a little more than a year ago. And the minute I heard about you and saw your work, I was like, I know this, sis. Like, my soul knows her, even though I may not know her in this physical form, in this existence right now. Like, I know her. And that's what drew me to you and to reach out to you and just say hi and just all the different things, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We've been
It's all
IG
resonance.
IG stalking each other for a while.
Yeah, I mean, IG is one way, but it's also like I know a lot of people talk shit about social media, but like without social media, I would not actually like know a lot of people. I've learned about a lot of things. It's opened my mind, and I'm grateful for like awareness. You know what I'm saying? Like awareness of that cannabis is medicine. Because I've been smoking weed for a long time before probably I should have been. And to me, it was always like more of an escape route. And then, I started getting in with the elevated crew after I sold these studios and stuff like that. And it was just so much more mindful. Like some of the stuff that we were doing was super mindful, and I was experiencing different things. Different information would be available to me, for example. And I read through your conscious cannabis workbook. Shout out to the conscious cannabis workbook. It's so good. I think everybody needs to go get that. Go get that right now if you're watching this.
I can drop a link in the chat. Let me do that if I can.
Yeah. Oh, to share your screen, you mean?
No, I'll just drop the link to the Amazon.
Oh,
where
yeah.
they can find all of my creations. Just excuse me for a minute as I navigate back to you. I gotta find you again. There you are. But yeah, I'll drop it in the link. That way
What
people...
inspired you to do that work?
Okay, so the coloring book came out last year. The coloring book is my terpene coloring book. I was trying to, pardon me, I don't like using the word trying because that means the definition of it is struggling.
Oh, okay.
I was finding ways to explain cannabis simplistically to my son as a homeschooler, in terms he could understand. Him and I learned terpenes together while we were in the forest during 2020. Instead of being
Okay.
locked in, we went to the forest every day. And
I love that.
that's how I learned that's how I learned terpenes, was by smelling moss and smelling the pine trees and just kind of discovering. And then this year on July 2nd, I got a download, and it was, you need to write this conscious cannabis workbook, and it's going to look similar to other cannabis workbooks, but it's going to inspire people in a different way. And I just started writing, and 3 days later I had this, and it was published on Amazon. So by July 5th, it was published on Amazon. That's what I spent my July 4th doing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was up. And then 3 or 4 months later, I translated it all into Spanish, and I have the Spanish one up there as well.
Yes, mommy. Oh my God. I love that. First of all, you have serious portal energy to create like that.
Thank
That's
you.
why I fuck with you so heavy, because it's like, you understand, they use our energy. They are harvesting our energy. We build up to these things like Thanksgiving, like Christmas, New Year's.
Yes.
It's all fit, like it's an illusion. And so like that,
it's an incubus and succubus type of relationship.
For sure. Everybody go check this out on Amazon. I'm gonna bring it back to your beautiful face.
You're so cute.
But yeah, so you taught your son that. And
yeah, so I taught him with the coloring book because for me it was important for him to understand. We also have spent the last, I want to say 5 or 6 years taking all toxins out of our home. My mother got deathly ill from a resurgence of cancer, metastatic cancer, and I had a lot of time on my hands at her deathbed. And so I watched a lot of Netflix and documentaries about health and what the industry is really doing to us and where things are going. And all of a sudden I went and I threw away about $1,000 worth of products. You know, all those little bottles that you have like a little bit left, but you're like, I really like the way it smells. I threw them all away. And I had to teach myself how to do things holistically and naturally. And so getting into terpenes naturally was a place where you want to go, because here are these molecules that we naturally have given to us by many plants in our ecosystem that heal us in so many different ways. And that information was hidden from us, and it hasn't been very related to cannabis, and people, it's been hard to get the cannabis industry to like start talking about it, and they are, which is great. But we also need the consumers to be like, okay, I do not like lavender, so like don't give me anything with linalool in it. And you know, anything with like lime scents or orange scents, they give me anxiety, so like don't give me anything with limonene in it. But I do like mango, I do like that kind of citrus, so like how about some valencine in my cannabis? And that way you make some really educated decisions. But it also means that the consumer becomes the teacher too. And I kind of like that, because the demand is what drives the market. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So how did you learn about it? I know you said you had a physical background, physical therapy background, but like, was it just something you just go down the rabbit hole on herbs? Like, how do you know that linalool or whatever is lavender?
So I went down the rabbit hole. I straight up was like, okay, I know linalool is these different terpenes associate to many different plants. So I'm going to sit here, and I did for a few months. I sat and I looked up at all the plants that are associated with this particular terpene, and I still have more work to do. I still have more things to add to the coloring book. But it was
that's
just
what the coloring book educates on is.
Yes. Yeah. This is the terpene. These are the plants that are associated with the terpene. And then these are what the terpene helps with, is right in the middle. And that way you can say, okay, these 7 different terpenes help with pain. So, okay, now I can go and I've got options at the dispensary. I don't have to just take indica. Like, what does that mean?
It sort of lost its meaning because everything is a hybrid.
Yeah.
And so to put it in those 2 categories makes no sense. Just like how I talk about a lot that, you know, the racial social construct makes no sense. Like we're all genetic. Well, I actually have 97% Austronesian genetics, but my kids are mixed. You know what I'm saying? Like my cousins are mixed. We're like every different potential person is in our gene code. And so I talk a lot about, you know, activating that gene code and that different strains interact with your own endocannabinoid system. And they do that. And it's all about, and what I love about that one book that I got, I don't think it was the coloring book. It was different. It had
workbook. Yeah.
The workbook. That one made me really think about what is my energy like as I'm going into this? Similar to cooking. Like, you know, you never want to have like an angry chef or something. Seems like everybody in the food industry is always like pissed off, but you know, they put that energy like
cooking up that food
all day, dude.
There you go.
Us, like if you're going to fast food or going out to eat, like those people are not happy. You know, it's very rare that you find happy people in that. And so we cook a lot at home because of that.
Yeah.
But the same thing with smoking is like the mentality going into it. Like I used to think of it as like kind of taking the edge off, like basically after a long day, I'm about to just escape. And it changed after I read that book in August. I think I read it in August. Yeah, I did 3 grams of mushrooms at barefoot and like, changed everything, like pretty much. Well, a lot of intent.
I talk about in that book about the importance of like as an industry, they're teaching us, and as not just an industry, as a society, they're teaching us to set expectations on things versus setting intentions on things. And the energy dynamics of expectations versus intentions is so drastic and different that, you know, you can have varied experiences. And honestly, you're such a varied individual in how you respond to the universe and the world at any given minute, that the same strain that you use this morning might not be the one that fits you in the evening or afternoon. And so having one, the availability, the accessibility, and the education, also all 3 of those things, to be able to say, okay, I'm going to pick this one up. This one's going to serve me more right now. This one's not. Like, this one's going to energize me, but I need a nap. Like, my body is telling me I need a nap. So let me pick this strain. Or, you know what? I do need to be productive right now. I'm going to slam this cup of coffee, smoke a little bit of this joint, and get to work and get my house clean, or whatever it is that you need for your body in that minute. But for me, it's really important that we all understand and recognize and understand and overstand how labile our bodies are and how much we need to sit and listen in order for us to feed it and nourish it correctly. And that's what that workbook really sits down and really has you reevaluate expectation versus intention and the energies you bring to that.
Yo, I love that. What's an example of that? Like, I want to apply that right away to my life, you know?
Okay, so let's say you're in, what you desire is to take a bath and have a meditative, quiet moment, but you want to be able to stay in the present of yourself and be able to go into the unknown so that you can be the everything, right? And the all, so that you can encompass and embody everything. And sometimes
that's deep in and of itself. My God. I need to do that.
But, you know, there's like those meditations that you allow yourself to just get lost. And then there's those meditations where you kind of need to be on the precipice of awareness and consciousness. in order to take yourself deeper into the unknown so that you can be one with everything. And you need a certain amount of consciousness to do that. So what if you didn't smoke? What if you burned it as incense? Or what if you dressed a candle with your cannabis and set the intention with that candle and lit it, and then maintained your consciousness? You're still consuming and communing with the plant, but you're directing your intention towards something else versus having the expectation that always smoking it is the only way to achieve higher consciousness.
Yo, I fuck with that so heavy, because so much of the time is just, we're in such fight or flight that we just want to escape. At least in my case, I'm just talking for myself.
Yeah.
And that slowing down of just even like a pause of like, do I really want to do this? Like, and you can still interact with it. You can still actually have like highs, you know, but it's like, what are you getting out of it? What is this really doing for my energy field?
Well, and traditionally it wasn't smoked. Traditionally it wasn't inhaled. It wasn't until we had to move our temples, right? And our temples then became our temples, our moving temples. We didn't have the temples because we had to move. There was, whether it was because weather, whether it was because the river dried up and we needed to move to a different river, you wouldn't just always smoke it. Sometimes you would use it as incense and commune together in that nature, or anoint your body with it after being sore during the day. I mean, there's so many ways to consume and commune with this plant. So having the wherewithal and the wellness and the awareness of your wellness to be able to say, okay, this is how I traditionally have faced this sacred medicine. However, let me discover the different parts, just like you discover different parts of yourself. Like I said, I wasn't who I was until a few years ago. And then I stepped into myself because I started opening myself up to the different parts of who I am and not being closed off to the part of the mask I was playing, or the part that I was playing.
Well, how did you step into that? Like, did you do DMT or something, or, you know, a special ceremony? Because if you're in physical therapy, you're working in the, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're in the matrix, like they want to usher us into these buildings, these hospitals, these banks, and like schools. And it's like this institutional, you know, haze that we're all in, just little ants marching. And you got out of it, like, was part of that through this conscious consumption process?
Yes, but it wasn't the catalyst. The catalyst was great pain. The catalyst was the loss of a best friend, of a life partner. It was my mom, you know? And having to go through that and not having support, having to do that alone. It made me really take a look at myself, and it also made me burn the candle at both ends to the point where my body broke down. And I knew it was a matter of time between either my death or my own resurrection. And I decided to rise. And that literally was my catalyst. And yeah, you know, I discovered mushrooms again. I did mushrooms for the first time at Woodstock 99, like a long time ago. And I discovered mushrooms again, and I started dosing and doing larger doses and all of that. But it was really the pain. It was pain and saying, okay, I've got to get through this. And my son being the only thing to get me through this, and me realizing that in this matrix, I was just a number. Like when I got sick, because I was burning the candle at both ends, a doctor came into me. I was in the emergency room, and he goes, we're going to medicate it, radiate it, and then excise it. That's the course of treatment. You speak medical. You understand what I'm saying, right? And I was like, man, there's got to be another way. And that's when I took toxins out of my home. That's when I started like doing radical shit. Just like started eating differently. I started putting different things around my body. And then I realized I was just a number. Like if I had died that day, they would have put my position up for availability to someone else the next day.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to play a part in that anymore, in any of it. None of it. I didn't want to pay into their system. I didn't want them to have my child. I didn't want them, I don't want to be a part of it. And I'm still moving further and further away from it because there's still parts of it. I'm still serving two masters in a way. And you can't do that. It's not going to work. You know, the fact that I'm paying a mortgage is the fact I'm serving a master. And that's a matrix master. Like, that makes my skin crawl. So, but you can't do it all at once because you will fucking lose your mind. So baby steps here and there and there and there and there, chipping away. And this year's the first year that there are no Christmas gifts. Last year was the first year we did not decorate. To this year, I'm not even discussing it. And there are no Christmas gifts because I'm like, you know, mom is a single mom. And when she's abundant, she gives you what she can. And you have everything you need, plus more. So I don't see why we need to dedicate a certain day of the year for you to have expectations. I'd rather you have good intentions throughout the year and be able to reward that. So again, it's switching those expectations and those intentions. And it's also living what I'm preaching. It's not, I'm not straddling the fence and doing one thing over here and doing the other thing over there. I'll be the first person to tell you, yes, I talk about your wellness. I talk about balance and endogenous cannabinoid systems and how you can use sacred medicines, period, to heal yourself. But I still got shit I'm working through too. Like, I still love Coca-Cola, unfortunately. Like, and it's something that I have every once in a while, but I know in the back of my mind, the minute I let that go, and a rain of abundance is going to come upon me. I can feel the chills because that's a master. Sugar is a master. And it's something I've been programmed to, but it's, again, not something that I know that I need to work my way towards that. And I've heard the calling. I've heard spirit telling me, okay, get rid of that. And it's like, all right, so I get rid of certain things. Some people are real hardcore vegans, and the only way that you can be, you know, spiritual is to be vegan or vegetarian. And I don't agree with that. Like, my body needs meat. I've had certain days where RSO and FSO and a joint and all the different ways you can consume cannabis did not heal me, but a piece of meat did.
Okay, wow.
And so, yeah, so I have to honor that. Like, there's a part of me that knows that when we were out in the bushes and we didn't get meat all the time because we respected meat and we only butchered it once or twice a year, I enjoyed eating that every time. And I can't deny that from any of my lifetimes because that's a part of me. However, what are my expectations and my intentions? Do I expect to go out there and get good quality meat anywhere I go? Absolutely not. So what are my intentions when I go and eat meat? Do I sit down and bless it and do all the things and put Reiki and all in order to bring up the vibration of that which I'm? Yes.
I love that so much. That's so inspiring. But it's like, you know, but your son's not, is he in with this crowd that celebrates Christmas where he's feeling like he's missing something? Or is he just kind of like, okay, this is how I know life to be? So
he asks, like, it's been a process. His only introduction to the school system was in kindergarten, and that was for 6 months, and then the pandemic hit. So, but I already saw the like prison pipeline, the school to prison pipeline happening with my son. He had a fucking file on him in 6 months, and he's a sweet ass kid. And I'm just like, you know what?
Kindergarten.
I couldn't do it. I saw where it was going, and I was like, I'm not doing this. But he's asked, he's like, hey, you know, why do they have two parents? Or, you know, why do they always celebrate these holidays? And one of the first times that I explained Christmas to him, I looked up all the different, I'm the person that looks up the meanings of words. I look up different things. Like, my mom always taught me to question everything. And so I looked up Christmas because I wanted to explain to him more than what I knew about Santa Claus and down the chimney and all this stuff that we're told. And that I was told. I was also told about the Three Kings. Like, I used to do both Christmases. Okay. They're two different things. Puerto Rico. So they do the Three Kings. I used to get the grass and leave it under the bed and the water for the camels. And then I would also do the Santa Claus with the cookies. And I did all that. And I also remember my disappointment when I found out the truth, and my disappointment in my parents for having lied to me
Mm.
I remember feeling that vividly, and I did not want that relationship with my son. So, like I said, I looked up Christmas, and there was like at least 5 to 6 different explanations, and that's at minimum. And that's what I was like, all right, kid. I just looked at him and I was like, with my computer in my hand, and I was like, I'm gonna read you all of these. And I was like, because here's what I know about life and what I've learned up till now is like there's my truth, there's their truth, and then there's your truth somewhere in the middle. So I'm gonna tell you all the truths and you come up with whatever you want. But because of this, our observations are going to evolve over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we like to do the solstices and the equinoxes. We like to honor the seasons. We like to honor nature and the flows of Mother Earth. That to us seems a lot more natural. We learn a lot more that way. I've learned way more in the last 3 years just listening to Mother Earth and allowing nature to show me, to reveal itself to me. Than I did in grad school, undergrad. I went to Howard University, like high school.
Okay, shut up,
Like,
Howard.
shout out
Dang,
Howard.
you've got a great education though. That's a great background.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I got my undergrad there as a bachelor's in science, and then I went back for my master's in physical therapy. I almost went into med school. I took the MCAT twice.
Okay.
Passed barely once, but I decided that wasn't for me. I always knew I was a healer.
Yeah.
But didn't know really what kind of healing until now.
Yeah. So how
Yeah.
did you step out of like the golden handcuffs? You know, physical therapists make really good money. It's a great everybody always told me to do that.
Um, I did it because of the pandemic.
Mm.
Everybody got paid that year. So
That's
that's what I did. That's what I did is I put my money like literally by January 1st of 2020, I was taking a cannabis coaching institute certification course with Corinne Tobias, who I love. She's like this beautiful, nerdy woman. Her and Andrea nerd out on cannabis in ways that like I've never heard like even men nerd out on cannabis. And so I just sit there and I'm just like, yes, talk to me. But yeah, I got a certification course from them and learned to the point where I was like, all right, I'm going to start a business and I'm just going to do this. And by now I'm in my 4th year of business with UR Wellness and coaching clients, whether it's privately or in a group. And I'm finally coming into myself in my business. Like it's a weary road when you're an entrepreneur. You're like, yes, I'm going to do this. And then they're like, what's your why? And you're like, hold on. And you're like, and what's your this and your mission and your vision? You're like, yes. And your audience, and you're like, I'm coming with that. Just like, yes. So
Pretty on point though. The stuff like I open every email. I love every time. I'm like, this looks amazing.
I'm learning. Like it's a little process. I'm learning it all. I don't have a team. It's just me. I am my administrator, my secretary, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a beautiful road to learn. And anytime I want to quit, which is every night.
Really?
Yeah, every night I quit. There's some nights that I'm like, and I'm just like, no, I don't want to do this no more. And then I wake up the next morning, I'm like, nope, that's like, I see it in my dreams. I see it in my lucid dreams. I see it in my meditations. I know what's coming. I know what I have to do. So I wake up and I get back to it. But yeah, there's a lot of quitting.
That's so interesting. So is that what you do full time? Is seeing clients and host
Yeah.
son?
Help them learn how to dose. I've helped a couple of clients get off psychiatric medications. They felt they were too numb to life and that they weren't feeling and didn't know how to manage life as adults with children and married. And so I said, okay, are you ready to feel? They wanted to get on psychedelics, and there's a process to that. You can't just go, from taking psychiatric medications to taking psychedelics. That could be actually really dangerous to your health if you're taking SSRIs. So, I work and help them get off of it. And at least one's been successful for 2 years. Another one's been successful for 9 months now.
Okay.
and they're feeling, they're feeling the feels, and it gets really dark and deep when you feel the feels. But they're also learning how to open their hearts, and do heart mind coherence meditations, and learning how to move their stagnant energy in their lower three centers. And so it's just really tapping into your energy is what I call it. I stopped using the energy because yeah, energy is cool. But energy, like your inner God, your inner chi, your inner vital energy force, to be able to tap into that, harness it, move it around, manipulate it, that's a whole nother level of inner over and understanding of self.
Yeah, life hits different.
Yeah, totally. It tastes totally different.
I'm just curious, like, what level of consciousness does somebody have to be at to say, like, I need to get off of this? And because a lot of people wouldn't question if there's another way, even if it doesn't feel, it's like we've gotten so used to not feeling good that it becomes our norm.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It does.
So I guess I'm just wondering, like, this is people you're talking to at events, or
These are
like,
people who find me through other people. Like they
okay.
talk to people and they're like, you need to talk to this person. Like this person will help you. Nydia Ganja Clergy, she'll help you if you're willing to do the work, she'll help you.
Mhm.
It but you have to be willing to do the work. And that's one thing I tell my clients immediately. Day one, like orientation session. Like if you're not going to do the work, I'm going to be sitting here every week just, hello, hi. You remember that assignment I gave you a couple weeks ago? You gonna do that? Because there's steps to this, and you have to be committed to yourself. Like if you look at the pipeline of results from your desires and your intentions, like if commitment and dedication aren't there, there's leaks, and your results are going to be very minimum to none. But
Mhm.
if there's commitment and dedication, and you're able to plug those leaks and work through those shadows, you can get some beautiful cups overflowing over here. And that's what the goal is, right? Is to
Yeah.
have your cup of love overflowing to the
Yeah.
point where you can go ahead, take it. That's extra. You know what I mean? Like, go ahead, take my love, take my energy. That's extra. If I desire to give it to you, if I want to overflow in your area and section, but being able to have that versus the bucket hole that's holy and always trying to fill it up and not having dedication and commitment to yourself. And it's just, you're never full of love. It's hard to be full.
Well, how did you come to that conclusion? Like,
I did it
you had
myself.
your dark night of a soul.
I
Do
did
you
it
have like
myself.
spirit guides that guide you through it?
I've had mentors and coaches. I heard once one of my mentors told me that Oprah on average had 8 coaches
What?
at any given moment. You know what that is? That's 8 hours of sitting and talking with your coach, maybe every other week or every week. And then that they give you work that's like at least 8 to 12, sometimes a whole week's worth of work to do.
When you say work, is that like soul work? Like, are you looking at
They're
yourself?
little assignments. It might be spiritual work. They might tell you to go and do spells. It depends what kind of coaches and guides you have. You know what I mean? Other ones have gone and told me to go put my feet in the dirt every day. And if I'm not doing that, then I can't think clearly. And I've realized that because I've stopped. I tell people, go ahead, and I say the same thing to my son. Like, let's say he has an injury and he starts crying. I tell him, listen, do an experiment, stop crying for a couple of minutes and just breathe, set a timer. And if the pain feels better when you stop crying and you're breathing, it's because you're putting less stress on your nervous system and your circulatory system. So there's pressure building up there. And so it's able to heal. But if you want to go ahead and cry and put on a show for yourself, because it's for yourself, nobody else but you, you're going to understand that that pain is going to last a little bit longer because you're building up pressure.
We need you in our house. Like, I say things so different because I'm very like, you get your parents' qualities whether you like it or not.
Mm.
It's I'm never gonna do that to my kids. And then I'm more of like you want to cry it out? Okay, do it. And then just kind of letting them learn from experience. I love this explanation.
It's just
Hopefully they're gonna
experimenting. Just try something new.
listen.
Different. That's all I tell him is like try something different. The other day he couldn't get bottles in the cupboard, and I said, try to think less and do more.
Mm.
And all of a sudden he took them out and put them all back in. And I was like, see?
Yeah.
I was like, it's
Yeah.
wild. Like, when we take things simply, and that's what nature's taught me, how simple it can be, right?
Mm. Were you born and raised in Michigan?
Not at all. I was born and raised all over the United States.
Really?
Yeah, before 1 years old. I was born in California, before one, Texas, before five, East Lansing, Michigan, before seven,
Okay, go green.
New York. Yep. Um, before 13, I was in Puerto Rico. At 15, I was in Maryland. Then I moved back to New York. And then I went to Colorado and then Wyoming
Wow.
and
That's
then
too
back to
much.
Michigan.
Like, I don't even
Yeah.
think I've been to all those places. Like, how did you find stability through that as a child?
I didn't. That's some of the shadows that I've been working through for the last 4 or 5 years is, with grief, it takes you down a lot of different routes.
Oh yeah.
And I've worked through my rites of passage. And then I've worked through instability. I've worked through a lot of abandonment. I didn't have stability. My mother was my stability, right? So when she went, that concept in human material form went. And so
Mm.
I had to find that within myself. But it gave me a lot of gifts because I'm able to surrender and let go a lot easier because of those moves,
Mm.
if that makes sense. I just put something on Instagram today, and it said something similar to the point of, like, I don't move different when I disagree or when there's drama, because that drama is something that I've worked really hard to remove from my life. If it brings me unstable energy, I no thank you. Like, just no
You've
thank
had a
you.
lot of that, dude.
Yeah, I'd rather not. Yeah, like I've lived a lot of that, and so I just at this point in my life would rather not, and that's become a boundary for me. And it's nothing personal, and I don't move different. I just move in a different direction. Like, I just want to move away from it,
Mhm.
and I'll give myself stability wherever I'm at. It doesn't matter where I'm at. Now I can find the stability within, right? I can close my eyes, take a deep breath, put a hand in a mudra, hold on to a mala, or just, do nothing and breathe, close my eyes and breathe, and I can find my center. But it took my center being completely taken away from me in material form in order for me to find it in here.
Oh my God. That's like makes me hurt a little bit. You know what I mean? I've felt that though. I've been there many
Yeah.
times, kind of too many times to count. And
Mm.
then my whole thing is like, I like to have these type of conversations where you're connecting about those times because it feels like you're alone, but you can actually go back to that memory. This is what I've learned recently through my meditations and like regulate your nervous system, taking yourself through that memory. And you could do that yourself. I mean, coaches, like, that's why I'm so curious because it's like coaches are so helpful. They bring you into the areas of yourself that you're blind to.
Yes.
And I think like you need to have that. Otherwise, you're just kind of lying to yourself. At least that I'm speaking to me. It's like you get
No, I agree. You need to be able to hear different perspectives about yourself and like where you can improve. And if for me, there's a constant need of improvement, right? There's a constant, like, I need to do better. I need to do better. I need to do more. I need to do, and
that's
it's
some
not
Aries shit because I don't really have that.
okay, fine. I'll take that.
It is. It's like I love Aries because it's just such the fire starter. It's like the I am. It's the are you the youngest or were you the only child?
Only. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which is awesome for an Aries. They're like the baby. And so whenever I meet Aries, it's like, oh my God, I've met somebody that's like polar opposite of Libra, that's always wanting to be surrounded by people.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And everything is about the people and the relation. I love the idea of the independent archetype that is interdependent, but can stand solo and be confident in it. I've always struggled with that. So I always love Aries archetype. And that's kind of how I like learn things is through archetypal. Whenever I get into the shadows, I think about archetypes, because it's like, even Satan, I'm going to sound like a fucking Satan worshiper when I say this, but even Satan is
Son wasn't equal.
exactly. It's evil if you make the choice to be. But when you're thinking of just that energy, it's very helpful, because it is the adversary. And it's kind of like the rub. It gives you that sort of push to get through those dark nights of the soul, and like your major career transitions, and being able to homeschool your son. Like, that's such a gift.
For me, 2020 was a gift. I know for a lot of people it was a very hard year, but for me it was a gift. I lost my mom in 2018, her mom, my grandmother in 2020, and then my father in 2021.
That is devastating. That's a lot.
It was a gift. I could never be the person I am today with them here. I acknowledge that fully, and I have gratitude for that in ways that I would have never been able to express this in 2021. But 2020 and all of those losses were a gift. They were a serious, serious gift.
You see it as like a soul contract, or what is your perspective on that?
I do, because I do believe in reincarnation. And I believe that because energy can neither be destroyed nor created, it is merely circulated or transmuted, right? I believe in a way that not only did she become an ancestor, I don't believe all people who pass away in transition are ancestors, but my mother was an ancestor, is an ancestor. But a piece of her also came into me and my son.
What constitutes an ancestor? Like, is that like
an ancestor is like a spirit that guides. It's also, there's spirit guides, and then there's spirit guides that like directly communicate with you. And so an ancestor will walk with you. You can call them whenever you need to. They're always waiting to be called. They're waiting to be put to work.
okay?
They're in the spirit realm doing
I feel like I have a lot of those.
Yeah. Well, we have on average, it takes about 4,000 people for us to be here right now in this existence.
Okay. Wow.
Right?
I've never heard that.
Yeah. So if you do the math, if you do like, okay, my parents are 2 people, and then they had parents with 2 people, and they had parents with two, you keep on going. On average, it takes about 4,000. So whenever you walk anywhere, you're not walking alone. Even if you are alone, you're walking with you're 4,000 deep.
That makes me emotional. Surprising.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I had to learn that. You know what I mean? Walking alone, that's how I found my pole. It's like, okay, I had to really step. I'm not alone. I'm not alone. This is how I'm walking. And all 4,000 of them have something to say on where I'm going, on how people act, on who's who, on where I'm going into this space. Oh no, you're leaving in like 5 minutes. No problem. Or you need to play this sound bowl right now, or this is how you heal that person. They all got opinions, and sometimes you got to tell them to just be quiet. Like, okay, sorry, only one of you can speak at a time because I can't do that. Or right now, I'm not receiving any of you. Learning how to shut them out too. Like all of those things. This is all part of the process, because it's not just a breaking away from the matrix. It's breaking away from the matrix and constructing something for yourself that is a sturdy foundation to be able to walk on.
Oh, that's bars. God, this is amazing. I'm serious. Like, that's self-accountability right there, is like listening to them. I think that's wow. I had like a breakthrough in that. But that is what it is.
That made me emotional too. Yeah.
Yes. Shout out to all who came before. I chant these things daily, but it's like you get so in it. And it's like I feel them with me all the time, but I'm not always listening. I'm like sort of in my head. And I feel like this artificial matrix sometimes plants things. Like dude, I go down these rabbit holes on terrible things, but it was called an earworm. And it's like basically, that's the actual term for it. It's a catchy beat that's lower than 430 hertz or something like that. And it gets stuck in your head like a parasite.
Yep.
And then you find yourself listening.
I hope everybody is parasite cleansing regularly. I do it at least once a year for 3 months of the year.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
What's that process look like?
Just taking a tea every morning.
Okay, that's on point then. I'm right on point. I started because girl, it's
Get
like
rid of them. I'm telling you, you won't just get rid of
sometimes you are
everything.
the host.
No,
Sometimes
they come in all shapes and forms. You'll get rid of all of them
yes.
with the tea.
Oh my God, I love that. What kind of tea do you drink? What kind of tea do you like
I've
to?
done a couple of different ones. I've done a tincture and I've done a raw herbal one. I really prefer the raw herbal one. It's like
Okay.
a mix of 14 different ones. I'm looking for an herbalist because my last one stopped making them. I hope she comes back and makes them. But
Okay. Shout out to the herbalists out there.
yes, come on, make us some parasite cleansing tea. But no, she comes from Mexico, and in Mexico, they prescribe it every 3 months for at least once or 6 weeks each time.
Okay.
I'd rather do it and get it over with, so I do it on my count. So after the new year, which is technically October, um, for many different
October.
reasons, I start in
Oh, okay.
October and I end usually at the end of November, December. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Why is that? Is October the true new year?
There's many different calendars, you know. I don't know. I just do the one that feels right to me. But
No,
the
I fuck with your
tradition,
calendar. I liked what you said. It really brought me into awareness. I'm serious. I was cooking. I like to cook that food. And I'm all about, we don't have any restaurants around us. So it's kind of like I basically have to cook everything from scratch. I like it. I shouldn't say have to, but I get to.
yeah, I like it. I'm
Yes.
making that transition too.
Yes, I catch myself and I'm like, all right, I have to recreate that because
Yeah.
sometimes it can become like a chore, but it helps everybody. And I say to the kids, like, you're helping people out with the shit that you're doing. It's not just because I want you to be moving it here to there. It's like, so I put a lot of love into it and I got really good at mastering these dishes, girl. And so I finally did Thanksgiving food, like American food, because I'm
Okay.
Filipino. And then I read what you said. I'm like, I was just thinking that about the inflammatory foods. I'm like, I don't know about this mac and cheese, like how much I could, because they can't have lactose. We don't eat this kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? But I was going to try it because that's what people eat with all the other food. And it's like, this is inflammatory as fuck. The whole thing is wrapped in inflammation. But anyway, and then I'm like, I'm curious about that. Like, how does she skip out on that? Because it was historically my favorite time of the year. You don't have to get
Um, I got really disappointed in my relatives, my blood relatives, honestly.
Mhm.
I would spend every Thanksgiving was a holiday my mom and I would be like always be together. That was just our like always thing. And so when she passed away, I tried to like see if my other family member blood relatives that are around were gonna do something like that. And they were, but with their other families. They already had plans for all the things every year, no matter when I asked. And so I was like, well, fuck this. And I looked at my son and I was like, I'm not making a whole Thanksgiving meal for you and I. Like it half of it's gonna go in the garbage because we can't eat it in time. It's just gonna rot. Like, and it's not good for us anyways. And I was like, how about I make pieces of the meal throughout the year and we just enjoy it whenever I feel like making collard greens or whenever I feel like making mac and cheese and we want to step into that. Um, and I just don't want to sit. And I also went to a friend's house last year, and I'm kind of high thinking now because I've been smoking for a while. But I went to a friend's house last year. I sat down, had all the things with her. I didn't make a thing, but I had the inflammation that I had. I could feel my immune system being suppressed. And I could feel myself being vulnerable to things that are out there. Like it even brings mucus to my like even thinking about it brings mucus to my throat. But
You're sensitive as fuck. That's
I've
amazing.
been working all year to like I've been taking colloidal silver all year. I started taking oil of oregano regularly, especially now that I'm like doing death doula work and volunteering and being in these facilities. Um,
Mhm.
I started just doing things that were going to strengthen my immune system. I've been doing chlorophyll for the last few years daily. And so I've been building up my immune system in different ways, and I choose when I desire to be inflamed. I get to choose that. No societal expectations, not intentional at all, not having any intention towards me, my
Mhm.
health, or my wellness,
Mhm.
um, is going to choose for me when I inflame myself, nor do I want to do it in a group herd type of thing because herd immunity. So I just There's just several reasons that I was just like, let me just take this step back this year and just declare, like, I'll make us some sweet potato pies every once in a while for the next 3 months. Is that a deal? Like, my son was like, yeah, that sounds good. I was like, all right, cool. Like, you know, I'll make some collard greens, probably for the new year. He's like, all right, sounds good. I was like, cool. So we have plans. We make it different. But we still have certain traditions that we do, like we make salt dough every year, and make our own ornaments, because then we can throw them away or we can gift them to people. People love them. We dry out oranges and stuff, and sometimes we go decorate trees out in nature when we go out on a walk. Like,
I
you
love
got
that.
like, so it's just doing things differently, but at the same time having, again, our own intentions with when we do things.
Mhm.
We do them.
Yes, yes, girl. So I don't want to go over time here, but I really
Okay.
appreciate this conversation. Where can people find you?
Mm. All right. Yes. So I am on Instagram at Nydia Ganja Clergy. That's NY like New York, DIA like the Detroit Institute of Art, and then Ganja Clergy, CLERGY. I also have a business page called UR, which is the letters U and R, and then the word wellness official. That's Instagram. My website is www.ur, like the letters, wellness, and then the letters llc.com. So those are the three places you can find me. And then I left the link so y'all can find the conscious consumption workbooks and coloring books to help.
I'll link that in the description.
Awesome. Thank you. I
So how can
appreciate
people
it.
work with you? Like, are you taking clients right now?
I am taking clients right now. Yeah, I do Reiki, distant Reiki, and in-person Reiki. I also do spiritual cleanses called limpias. Traditionally, with all kinds of modalities, we can certainly talk, and there's a link on my page for that. I teach Qigong locally in the Southeast Detroit area at about 3 different locations. So you can check that out on my website as well. I do I Ching readings. So those are ancient divinations from the Tao or the Tao. And it's through codes. They speak codes. It's dots and lines. And I help interpret that and help answer whatever question you come with. As far as cannabis is concerned, I do consulting nationwide, worldwide. You don't have to be within the Michigan state borders in order to be educated. So that's how we go about that one. And yeah, that's what I do.
Beautiful.
That's what you can
Everybody
find.
check her out. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate